Alright. Okay, guys, so I'm not sure what the problem is. Now, it is not a window manager problem, though. Because that third time I was in Xmonad, not Qtile. Which, I said Qtile's always been rock solid, never had a crash, so I should have known the problem wasn't Qtile related, because when I logged into Xmonad, it crashed too. So, I rebooted the machine. When in doubt, reboot the machine, right? So, not sure if the reboot will help. Actually not sure what the problem is today. Of course, I'm on Arch, rolling release distro, right? So, might be an update of some kind that is causing me some issues. Give me a second and we will get things worked out here. We will do something. Not exactly sure what we're going to do. We're going to come up with something, some kind of plan. So you guys let me know. Once again, audio good. I'm sure the audio is fine, though. I don't think audio is our issue today. Maybe I shouldn't play with VirtualBox. Surely VirtualBox is not causing those crashes. Maybe it is. All right. YouTube has given up on the stream. I see recommended videos. Okay. Maybe DT flashed his main system with a new distro and it hard crashed. I don't know what that crash was about. Yeah, this is strange. So that was 3 crashes in a row. And it wasn't window manager related because I logged into 2 different ones. So I'm not sure. I haven't had any problems with my computer crashing or freezing up, though, other than starting the stream. I don't know if it's OBS related, camera related. Yeah, it was strange. Yeah, it took me a while to get back in that third time because I actually rebooted the computer. I took, 30 seconds to reboot the computer. Then I logged back into Xmonad because I didn't want to go back to Qtile. Then the camera didn't come up right away. It took me a couple of minutes of unplugging and plugging the camera cables in and out for the camera to come up in OBS. It was kind of a pain. So, and the number of people watching went from more than 100 to 24. Yeah, well, that's not unusual. Welcome to DT Live, right? All right. Yeah, you liked my Antics live stream? We should actually, it's such a bad live stream. I should take the time to download the latest release of Antics, and let's do that. Of course, downloading that ISO would cause the stream to buffer really bad. If I had already had it on the system, we could make this another Antics live stream. I tell you what, I'm going to try VirtualBox one more time. I'm just asking for it, but let's just make sure that VirtualBox is not the problem here. Because I'm just curious. Of course, is VirtualBox not launching, or did I mistype it? Okay. I must have mistyped it. It's launching fine now, though. I'm going to go through the installation one more time. This will be the last time I go through it. It either works or it doesn't this time. If I end up the window manager crashing on me again and kicking me out to the login manager, then we'll assume it's probably VirtualBox that's the issue here today. We'll wait for Kubuntu to boot up into the live environment. Let's see. Yeah, the best language is ZSH. Is it? I wouldn't call that a language, but okay. Although you can script in ZSH. All right, let's install Kubuntu one more time. Yeah, normal installation. Yeah, all the same stuff from before. Oh, by the way, I didn't log back into Xmonad. I logged back into Qtile. See, I'm even confused what window manager I'm in now. Yeah, I can tell by that bar at the top, though. That's my Qtile config. Qtile comes with its own panel. All right. And create a username and a password. Continue. And let that go and hope it doesn't crash. If I don't make it through the installation without crashing the window manager this time, then we'll just give up on VirtualBox, at least for this stream. It's alright. I wanted to play around in Emacs during the stream too, so we may get back to Emacs later. Alright. So since I took a long time to come back that last time the window manager crashed, I'm going to have like that 5-minute video, the stream from before, separately than the stream we're recording now. I may actually have to delete the stream later. Either that, or I'll download it and actually take the time to edit it into a proper video and then re-upload it. Do I even want to do that? The whole purpose of doing things live is because I don't have much time. That's why typically when I schedule a live stream, it's because I don't have much time that day, so I do it live to avoid editing. And then, of course, bad things happen. And then I'm like, I really should probably edit that video. Yeah. Yeah, Lua is good. Yeah, Lua is great. Well, I say it's great. I don't know any Lua. But Lua's, I'm sure, a fine language to work in. I know very, very little about Lua. I know enough Lua to kind of play around in my awesome window manager config. But that's about it. Yeah, DT, fix the YouTube chat on your video. Yeah, did it freeze? That can sometimes be a problem too. Especially when things aren't going well. So let me restart that. And then see if it works. The problem is the chat is no longer the same chat. The URL for it. Because we're in a different stream than what I originally started in. Right? That first stream is already finished and published to YouTube. We're in a different stream because I took so long to get back the second time. At least I think that's the problem. It's looking at the chat from the failed live stream. All right, why is the chat not working? Because I'm not, I'm watching the wrong chat. You guys caught it. Give me just a second. Got to work something out here. We're going to get this, guys. Really. We're not going to let this defeat us. We've come too far. I've got all these floating windows here on my screen right now, and it's causing me some issues. Guys, give me a second. I've got some issues. But I'm going to get that chat back up for you guys. Give me just a second. There we go. All right. It took me a while to be able to get focus on one of these windows because I have the VM full screen. It was causing me some problems. All right. Got it. I'm done. Let's make sure the VM is actually doing okay and we haven't crashed. Everything looks all right. Why is the chat not working? Is because I was recording the chat from when I started the stream, and that's not the same chat. So when you kill a stream for whatever reason, or you get kicked out of a stream or whatever, if you don't come back right away, 30 seconds, a minute. Certainly 2 minutes is probably too long. To YouTube, you're starting a second stream. It's no longer that first stream anymore. So that very last time that my window manager died and I rebooted the computer, I took too long to come back. So it actually started another YouTube stream with a completely different URL. Different URL for the stream, a different URL for the YouTube chat. But I was still recording the old chat from the stream that died. So, DT, what drink accompanies today? So this is Yingling Black and Tan. Can get that to focus, but we can't. Somebody's talking about rat poison. I don't think I'll be trying rat poison, so I don't know really anybody that runs rat poison. Rat poison seems to be the joke. It seems to be the meme. But nobody really uses it. Very old window manager with some really strange key bindings. Tiling window manager. I'm not sure why anybody would use it, to be honest, over such good options like Xmonad, Qtile, DWM, BSPWM, you know. Yeah, Windows enthusiast says rat poison is bloat. Yeah. PR Brad. What's up, DT? What's up, Brad? Yeah. All right, so we got through the installation of Kubuntu 19.10 that time. Everything seems to be working. Maybe my machine just needed a reboot. I don't know. It could have been I did some kind of massive update on my main production machine, on the host machine, and for whatever reason, maybe I didn't reboot. It's been a while since I rebooted, and it was causing some problems, especially in something like VirtualBox. Like when you do kernel updates, it can cause you some issues. So it's very possible that that might have been the issue. All right, so I got to restart the VM. So I'm going to do a quick X kill just to kill the VM. Of course, we got to detach the ISO. So I'm going to go into storage, make sure this is empty. It is. So basically detaching the ISO, removing the ISO from the VM is like removing the USB stick from your computer on a physical install. All right, we'll make this full screen and we'll wait for the reboot. And let's see if we get any kernel panics or anything crazy. And we'll check out Kubuntu 19.10. Has anybody tried Sway? I haven't tried Sway. Sway is just an i3 clone. Runs on Wayland. Wayland is not that mature yet. Certainly not for somebody that does the kind of stuff I do. Wayland. This is not an option. I know people, I run Sway and Wayland. I got no issues. Do you have a YouTube channel that you record regularly? Do you stream video? Right? If you don't bother telling me that Wayland's okay and it's ready. But I'm sure Sway's a fine window manager. If you like i3, I don't care for i3, so it doesn't make sense for me to try an i3 clone that uses an inferior display server, at least right now, an inferior display server. All right, so anyway, this is Kubuntu 19.10. Looks nice, right? I like the default wallpaper. Actually looks good. Let's see what is installed by default. Again, I didn't do the minimal installation, so there's going to be quite a few things on here. I didn't actually catch the download size. If I go back, though, I can go back to distrowatch.com because they had the release announcement. It's where I grabbed the ISO from. I just clicked the link from their release announcement here on DistroWatch. 2.2 gigs in size. So, not a small ISO. All right, under education, we have much. No, LibreOffice Math. Yeah, not much there. Games, I'm sure we've got a few like simple games like the K games. K Mahjong. I don't want to play. I don't even know how to play Mahjong. I don't even know why I opened that. K Patience. K Sudoku. I really don't know how to play Sudoku. K Mines. I do know how to play Mines. That's a good game. A great game, actually. Graphics, we have WinView, Ocular, Scanlight, a lot of your standard KDE applications. aggregator with a K for our news feed reader, which is actually a really nice RSS feed reader. You guys that still use RSS. Firefox, of course, is the default browser. While that takes a minute to load up, we'll go back to the internet. Do they have any of the other like KDE browsers, like Conqueror, or any of that crap? I'm not just gonna say any of those fake browsers, the ones that nobody really uses. No, I don't see any of those. Anyway, Firefox, that's the latest Firefox, by the way. If I go to help about Firefox, yeah, 69.0.3. Did notice that took a little bit of time to open. One thing I should do, let's open up console with a K. And I know that font is really small. You guys are not going to be able to see that. Make that a little bigger for you guys watching this. Anyway, check out some of the usual stuff I usually like to check out in the terminal. Kernel, of course, 5.3.0-19. Let's check out htop while nothing's going on. Of course, htop is not installed. How about a sudo app to install htop? Our super secure password. Okay, and we wait. htop. Oh yeah, that's actually nice. No CPU, 525 megs of the 4 gigs of RAM. Very cool. I'm liking it already. I'm certainly liking Plasma better than GNOME these days. Snaps were installed by default on Ubuntu 19.10. Are there any snaps installed by default in Kubuntu 19.10? I'm going to do a snap list. Well, if I can spell it right. Well, I still can't spell it right. No snaps are installed yet. Alright, so 1910 Kubuntu gets an A from me. Okay, I'll come back to it in a minute, but yeah, already I'm liking what I see with this. Although I really like snaps, but there were some strange choices in Ubuntu 1910. When I installed htop in Ubuntu 1910, it installed htop as a snap. Who does that? When htop is in everybody's repos. It installed the GNOME calculator as a snap. Why? Like, there are some things I install as a snap because they're not in the repos, or because they make sense as a snap, because a snap is a container. Certain server-related technologies make sense in a container. I don't need my desktop applications as a snap. Again, unless they're not in the repo, then I don't mind. I don't need, like, things like htop and the GNOME calculator installed by default as a snap is just, that's a strange choice. Let's see. Yeah, no CPU. Suddenly the CPU2 usage spikes for a bit. Yeah. A lot of times when you see the CPU usage spike like that, what it's a lot of times it's doing is the system is checking for updates, especially these kind of installs where they have something in the sys tray that's always telling you that there's an update available. It's running that every few minutes. It's usually the package manager that'll really spike the CPU. Like if you see the CPU go from 1 or 2% to like 50% all of a sudden. Anything package management related takes a lot of CPU. So, all right. So htop snaps. Hee hee hee. Okay. DT, what's your take on Arch not shipping the kernel and other stuff from the beginning? Destination Linux talked about it. I haven't checked out the latest Destination Linux. I should check that out. What's my take on it? They basically ruined my excellent Arch installation video I put out about 3 months ago. I have gotten so many messages from these newbies coming to Arch because I basically promised at the beginning of this video, hey, I can talk any of you guys into Arch install, just do it in VirtualBox. Here's how you do it. That video no longer works because, all right, we're going to edit this file. So open this in Nano, and they start typing Nano, and then maybe it's the host file, nano/etc/host. Nano, command not found. Nano's not on the system. And then to some of these very new to Linux users, they're messaging me, Nano doesn't work. What do I do? Well, of course, you have to install it now. Pacman-S Nano, or Vim if Vim is not on there by default. VI, I think, is still there if you want to use VI. There's a few other things. DHCP, because I mentioned I didn't do wireless. I did a wired connection on my host machine, which is wired, in a VM, of course. But DHCP is not enabled or installed by default. The kernel is not there. Of course, Pacman -S, Linux, to install the kernel, which is, of course, Linux. Some of this seems straightforward if you've been around Linux for a little bit, but again, in that video where I'm trying to talk people through an installation, there's a lot of people that really don't know some of this stuff, and it's kind of frustrating because I've gotten probably 100 messages in the last couple of weeks on the YouTube video itself, from Mastodon, email, and Reddit, and everywhere else. Hey man, I'm following your video. It doesn't work. I don't get it. Right? So thank you, ArchDevs. You ruined that excellent install guide. I'm going to catch up with the chat for a second. Yeah, Conrado Fonseca. Hope I pronounced your name right. DT, give a feedback on the keyboard and its layout with the straight column keys. So he's talking about my ErgoDox keyboard, which is this split key layout. So, I can't really show you guys, but you guys have seen my ErgoDox. This split key layout, ErgoDox. I love it. Love this keyboard. I'd never go back to another keyboard, a regular keyboard. I like the split design. I don't mind the straight column keys. At first, it was strange. Once you get used to it, it's no problem. Like, I've gotten used to it, and I've gotten used to it to the point where switching between this keyboard and a regular keyboard, like I go to work every day, and I have to use a computer there, and it's just a normal standard keyboard. And switching between the two at first was really strange, but now that doing it every day, like I've got, even though the keys for certain key combinations are in completely different places, I can easily switch between these two keyboards now. So, anyway, I love the ErgoDox. I like the switches I have on it. It's a very expensive keyboard, but I would miss it. If I didn't have this keyboard, I'd probably buy it again. Like, if something happened to this. And I like the fact that it's programmable. For somebody that uses a lot of key combinations, a lot of key bindings, obviously tiling window managers, but your key bindings in the shell and key bindings for things like OBS. Maybe you have a layout, a specific keyboard layout for everything you do. This is my keyboard layout when I'm in OBS. This is my keyboard layout when I'm in emacs or whatever. So the programmability, of course, is very nice as well. Heck, I even have a layout on the ErgoDox. It comes by default with this layout. One of the layouts is basically using your keyboard as a mouse, where you can maneuver the cursor and everything with the keyboard, so you don't even have to touch the mouse. I haven't played with it that much because, I've got a mouse. I just use the mouse. But I could see why that would be useful for some people. Anyway, back to Kubuntu 1910. Let's see. Also under Internet, Kmail, conversation with a K for our IRC chat client, which we should pull up the IRC. We should pull up the DistroTube IRC over on the Freenode network, see what's going on there. Of course, we're logging into the Kubuntu channel. How about /join DistroTube? Of course, it's not going to log me in as me. Unless I, add my nickname and password and everything. Oh, I moved the VM to the wrong screen. It was me grabbing the screen with the mouse. Sorry, guys. And of course, now the VM disappears. Once again, to the wrong screen. See if I can fix all of that. All right. Alright, it didn't end up where I wanted to go. /DistroTube. /join DistroTube. Oh, there it is. All right, hello. Let's see. Hi, guys. All right. I'm going to show you guys another IRC chat client later in the show. Other than conversation with a K. But it is nice. All right, somebody said, hi, DT. All right. Be back later. All right. And of course, I could close the window, but you guys, if you're not sure what the commands are, to leave a channel, /leave gets me out of that channel. Exit or quit, /quit, I think. Should just quit the chat program altogether, I believe. We'll try them both, /exit, /quit, no. All right. See what else we've got here for Ubuntu applications under Internet. KTorrent, yeah, the Civ editor. Yeah, nothing too exciting here. Back to the applications menu. Multimedia. We have Cantata, which is their music player. It's an MPD music player. I really can't show you guys much about Cantata without setting up MPD. We're not about to do that. But I'm sure it's a fine music player. K3B is the disc burning utility. Excellent disc burner. Pulse audio volume control is here, and VLC for the video player, which makes sense. I think most people probably install VLC anyway, even if you give them some other video player. Might as well just, everybody probably should just ship with VLC by default, unless there's some real reason not to. I mean, like on my minimal installs or whatnot, yeah, I use MPV, but like in the real world, I imagine most people probably use VLC. Like if I was creating DT's distro, yeah, I'd put a VLC on the ISO, right? If I'm putting an email client on DT's distro, I'm probably putting Thunderbird on there, right? I'm not putting Kmail. I'm not putting Evolution, Geary. I like Geary, but it's not. Do people really use Geary? Under the Office category, of course, we have the LibreOffice Suite, Ocular, and Civ, all that again. Contact with a K. The standard stuff. I'm going to configure desktop. So I'm right-click on the desktop. See what the wallpaper pack looks like. That's standard wallpaper pack. Some of the standard KDE wallpapers of the past. Yeah, it's actually the same wallpaper pack as before, although I don't know if I've seen that one. That's interesting. You know what? I don't mind it. I'd probably live with that one for a little while. Here's something a little more fall related. Yeah, that's not bad. Close that out. Catch back up on the chat. Yeah. Let's see. Cantata can play back without MPD? Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of nice. So it does MPD or not. Very cool. I've never actually used Cantata, to be honest. Of course, I don't typically install KDE distros, and that's typically when Cantata is installed by default. The kind of distros I typically run on my machines, if they don't include a music player by default, if I'm going to install my own, you guys know, I'm doing a graphical player, dead beef. I like it. It's GTK. It's minimal, fast, light. Audacious is not bad. I don't mind that one as well. In the terminal, CMUS is good. MPC is good. If I'm doing, of course, an MPD player in the terminal, NCMPCPCPP is not bad as well. The great music player with the horrible name. I want to ask that guy. It's like, what were you thinking with that name? NCMCPCPP. It's actually an acronym. It stands for NCMCPCP. It stands for Incurses Media, I think, Music Console Media Player something. Like this, it actually has an acronym. So It's not just some random letters he threw out there, although you would think it. But you couldn't come up with a better acronym, a shorter acronym. Why is your acronym 8 characters long? Yeah, Ready Dairy. Most of the KDE apps are not so good. Some of them are great. Kdenlive. It's the best free and open source video editor out there. It just is. I know some of the other ones may get there one day. Kdenlive. Kdenlive's not perfect. Kdenlive's definitely the best, though. K3B, the disk burning utility I talked about, is excellent. Not too many people have the need to burn disk anymore, but if you do, K3B is definitely the best one. I mentioned the RSS feed reader, aggregator with a K. That one's not bad. You know what? If you're doing you need a terminal, and it does have some KDE dependencies, but not that many. If you're already installing things like Kdenlive and K3B, which I often install on all my systems anyway, console with a K really doesn't bring in any more dependencies, so a couple more. And it's a great terminal, but, you know, there's so many great terminals. Anything else? Dolphin. Dolphin's a great file manager. I wouldn't install Dolphin, though, unless you're running KDE. Because it's going to bring in some dependencies. Yeah, Auxilium was asking what kind of graphics card I'm using. I have a AMD Radeon 7. Yeah, and Windows Enthusiast, double click is double the bloat. I would agree. What about Mailspring? It's garbage. Claws Mail is garbage. All that stuff. Nobody uses those mail clients. I'm not going to say they're garbage, but nobody uses them. It doesn't make sense to, again, like if I was creating a Linux distro and putting an ISO out there, if you're going to put an email client, a desktop email client on your distro, it really doesn't make sense to put something other than Thunderbird. It might actually be a better idea just not to put any desktop email client out there. Most people don't need one anyway. That way they just install whatever they want. Yeah, DT, what window manager do you like better, Awesome or Qtile? I've tried both and found Qtile somewhat easier to work with, but Awesome is more active and fully featured. So I like both. I like both a lot. I like Qtile better because I like the way it handles workspaces and multi-monitors better. It handles it the way Xmonad handles it, and that's why I really like Xmonad, and that's why I really like Qtile. I like the way they do multi-monitors. Awesome handles it a more traditional sort of way, the kind of way DWM handles it. It's okay. I can take either one. Which do I prefer? Qtile. I found Qtile to be more stable than Awesome, which I mentioned earlier in this stream before things started crashing on me and I had some issues. But Qtile has always been rock solid stable, where Awesome, I've had crashes in Awesome. As far as you found Qtile easier to work with, well, yes. Qtile is written in Python. Awesome is written in Lua. Assuming you don't know either programming language, Python or Lua, you're probably going to have an easier time in Python because you can kind of look at Python and kind of figure out what's going on a little easier than Lua. Awesome is more active and fully featured. Awesome probably has a bigger community behind it and much more active. Yeah, probably a lot more people use Awesome than Qtile. Qtile, until I started talking about Qtile on YouTube about 2 years ago, very, very few people have even heard of Qtile. I think it got very little press because it's written in Python. Nobody talked about it. Nobody used it. You didn't see screenshots of it. Me kind of pushing it heavily here on my YouTube channel certainly got a lot more people looking at it, using it. Hopefully more people contributing to the project, I hope. As far as is Awesome more fully featured than Qtile, I don't know. Qtile's pretty featured for, again, a project that doesn't have that many people behind it. You can do a lot with Qtile. Yeah, Robo Nuggy. DCPBA. Derek can't pronounce big acronyms. I guess not. I can't pronounce the words of the acronyms either. Robo. Yeah, I just love that player though. That music player, NCMCPCPP. That's just a fantastic player. Hope everybody tries it out. Yeah, I've been playing with Termite. It works out of the box. Yeah, Termite's great. Termite's a great terminal emulator. Used it for a long time. I usually have it installed on the system. Sometimes I pull it up, check things out. If they don't look quite right in ST, then I've got Termite also installed on the system. I have URXVT also installed on my system. Xterm is usually installed on all my systems too. These days I just stick with ST because I got, my own ST build and it works, so. But I have no problem using URXVT. If it was the only terminal emulator out there, I'd be fine with it. Xterm, if it was the only terminal emulator out there, I'd be fine with it. And the same for Termite. All four of those are really good. Yeah, Simply Linux. He likes Sakura. Yeah. I've checked Sakura out a little bit in the past. Not lately, though. Might be one I check out again someday. Yeah, so, hey DT, quick question. I have a machine with 2 cores, thread enabled, and 4 gigs of RAM. How much of ZRAM should I set up? Android Studio is killing me. Sorry, I can't help you with that one. Android Studio. Maybe somebody else in the chat has a suggestion for that. Yeah, Ready Dairy. ST is the main thing I connect with. Luke Smith. You connect with Luke Smith through ST. I'm not sure what you and Luke are doing in ST, Ready Dairy, but that's good that you like ST. DT, have you tried Enlightenment? Yeah, many times over the years. It's an okay desktop environment. If I'm doing something light and fast and minimal, you guys know OpenBox. If I'm doing a floating window manager, it's always OpenBox. But there's nothing wrong with Enlightenment. It's very light too. I mean, super light. Anyway, I'm going to kill Kubuntu here. This VM of Kubuntu. We played around in this enough. Why is it not letting me click the leave? Well, that's a little bit of a glitch. No, it's right here. See, it's been so long since I've done anything in Plasma, I don't even know how to get out of here anymore. I am such a graphical desktop environment noob. It's not even funny. You know what? We'll save Xubuntu for another stream. Because we've been at this for about an hour, even though we've had some serious issues in that hour. Anyway, let me pull up my emacs config. Of course, it opened up on the wrong screen there. Let's change that to the master and stack layout. So, some neat things about Emacs. Some things I like, some things I don't like. So, Emacs as a text editor is fine. It's going to work for me. I've got no problem with Emacs as a text editor. Now, Emacs as essentially a desktop environment, or really its own operating system, but really it's its own environment that you can open up pretty much everything else in, right? Emacs is one of these things. It's not like Vim. Vim is a text editor. You can extend it with some plugins to make it do other stuff, but at the end of the day, Vim really is, no matter what else you do to it, Vim is just a text editor. Emacs, again, it's really an operating system. Because, well, let me do this real quick. You know what? I should turn on screen key so you guys can actually see some of the key presses I do. So let me see if this actually works. I haven't actually used screen key in a while. I'm not even sure if I have it installed on the system. There it goes. Okay. All right. So here in Emacs, if I type Control X and then 3. I can split the screen. So if I want to, I can go to this pane right here and do something like Meta X, which is Alt X. And now it's going to ask me what I want to do. You see the cursor at the bottom. And you have a lot of different shells. I can open up a terminal inside Emacs, but this is not opening ST, which is my default terminal. It's not opening up Xterm or URXVT. Emacs has its own shells, and it has a bunch of them. 3, I think, installed by default, with potentially more available as add-ons and plugins. But you have things like the E shell, which is not a proper shell. I mean, you can do some shell stuff in it, but let me CD back into the home directory. And say I want to CD into a deeper directory. So maybe documents, tab complete does work in the E shell. It does not work in some of the other shells, but there are going to be some things, some things you're used to, maybe bash key bindings that may or may not work in the E shell. It's not a full-featured shell. It's almost like a wrapper around a shell, right? This is not the kind of shell most of users are going to use on a regular basis. The Emacs shell, or the E shell here, what makes this special is because if you were doing anything interactive using eLisp, this would make sense. You use it as a REPL or something, that would be kind of what you would do with this. The other terminal that's available, well, there's 2 more that are available by default, is if I do Alt-X and then type the word term, then it's going to ask me what shell I want to launch in this terminal. Whatever's available on your system. I have bash, ZSH, conch. I have the GNU shell, although I wouldn't use the GNU shell in this. You know what? It's GNU, so let's do bash. So this is just your standard term shell. And again, you can do, your typical bash stuff. It actually respects my bash RC because ls, that's not a standard ls command. You can tell by all the information and the coloring, that is an alias. That ls command is actually exa, and then it has some flags. I think it's LA capital T, something like that. Anyway, so it actually does recognize my bash aliases. And if I wanted to CD something deeper, tab completion works. So that's a little bit better terminal, really, if you want a proper terminal than the E shell. There's one more terminal installed by default. So if I did Alt-X again, and then ANSI-term. And this is supposed to be the most functional terminal. Well, why is this not working? Let me exit as many times as I can. And then Meta X, Alt X, okay. ANSI, what tab complete? ANSI term. And then it's asking me what shell I want to run again. Bash is fine. And the same thing, it actually respects the bash RC. Although, did you notice how slow that ls is? And this is one of the things, other than some of the key bindings and controls and some of the commands you can use in your standard terminal don't work in these shells inside Emacs. Probably the biggest complaint is these shells are slow. A ls command is not that resource intensive. Watch this ls command. That's slow, right? ls command should just be like that, right? That's shockingly slow. I could never use any of these built-in shells inside Emacs. If I was doing something really simple, I just needed to run one or quick command line tools, it would be okay. Anything more, I'm pulling up ST with a proper bash shell and doing it there. And back to the chat for a second. And Ron says, hey there, DT and chat. Man, a lot of obsessing over editors and shells. Well, if you spend a lot of time in a terminal and in the shell, these things matter. If you don't, then they don't matter at all. Yeah, Warhawk, he has his config files on GitLab. Yeah, anything you want of mine is probably on my GitLab. I've been trying to keep it up to date. You want this rice. What rice are you wanting? The one for Qtile or the Emacs config? All of it, though. Whatever you want. My ST build, all of it. Everything. My configs for Xmonad and DWM and open box from back when I was doing all those open box videos at the beginning of the channel. Got everything, my Bash RC and Film RC. Yeah, what are you drinking? Once again, Yingling Black and Tan. Your window manager right now is Qtile. 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 It's the tiling window manager written entirely in Python. 100% Python. Where Emacs is basically an operating system written not entirely in eLisp. It's actually written, a lot of it is written in C, but quite a bit of it is also written in eLisp, Emacs Lisp. Anyway, back to the shells. The reason the shells are not usable, they're slow, certain things don't work. It doesn't matter which of the 3 built-in shells in Emacs I use, they do not like ncurses applications at all. Let's fire up htop. How does htop look? That looks pretty bad, right? I was like, what in the hell is that? It's unreadable. Let me quit out of htop. You know, these are just standard ncurses kind of applications, terminal interface applications you use all the time. Also Mixer, very common application you probably pull up all the time in the terminal. That's also Mixer. That's bad. And no, I didn't go hunt like 2 ncurses applications that look really bad. All of them look like that. That just happened to be the 2 that 2 of the most common. But any ncurses application I open in any of those 3 shells look really, really bad. Where, of course, you know, in a proper terminal, my ST running bash is the default shell. You know, that's what htop normally looks like. Also Mixer, you know, which I don't have a lot of going on in also Mixer, but you know, that's what that screen should have looked like. So I'm not happy with the shells inside Emacs, but it's not a big deal. Why do I need a terminal or a shell inside Emacs? I don't really need it. I'll just bring up a terminal myself, you know, a separate standalone terminal. I guess the reason, let me open up my Emacs config again. I'm on the wrong desktop though. Let me send that to the right desktop. All right. The reason people might want to bring up a shell inside Emacs is because then it's one of the buffers inside Emacs. So it's easy to switch between your buffer that has whatever text editor you're working on and the buffer that has the file manager also in Emacs. And you can switch from your email client that's also running in Emacs, and then you can switch to the shell, which is also running in Emacs. So you have buffers for each of the things. So Emacs really, you're treating Emacs almost like a window manager, and you can switch between everything. I don't need that. I have my own window manager. Today it's Qtile. I mean, I'll run the terminal separate from Emacs. I don't need it inside Emacs. And to switch between them, of course, tiling window managers, I have key combinations. I can quickly switch in and out of the terminal in Emacs and vice versa. By the way, I did find an interesting workaround for the ncurses problem in those terminals inside Emacs. So let me open up let me do a split again. So Control X, 3, and then Alt X, and then let's do ANSI term, since that seems to be the best terminal. And let's open up, no, I'm not going to open up bash. Instead of /bin/bash, what if I do, I installed this just to check it out. User bin tmux. I don't use tmux because there's no reason for me to use tmux. I use tiling window managers. Why do I need to tile inside my terminal? But the interesting thing is, by using tmux as my shell inside the built-in terminal in Emacs, watch what happens with these ncurses applications. All of a sudden, they look a lot better. It still doesn't look 100% right? There's still some weirdness going on, but htop, I can at least read that, right? Also Mixer. Let's try that. Because that one was hideous looking. Also Mixer actually still looks bad. Everything is double-spaced lines, but at least it's better. It's an improvement, right? So emacs, term, ZSH. Yeah, it doesn't matter what terminal I use, term, ANSI term, eShell. It doesn't matter whether I use bash or ZSH or conch or any of the other shells on the system. None of the terminal user interface programs, none of the ncurses programs look right in Emacs for me. They don't look good. You can't use them. Half of them are you can't even use. You can't even read anything. So I won't be using any of the Emacs shells. Now let's talk about some of the good things about Emacs. So I'm gonna do let's do another vertical split here, and let's open up Alt-X, of course, to open up something else, but this time EWW, which is Emacs's terminal-based web browser. It's asking me for what website I want to go to. You know what? Why don't we go to distrowatch.com? Well, I hit the tab key and it was about to go to user bin tmux. Anyway, wait for that to load. All right, and this is EWW. Now, this is not the default configuration for EWW. I have images turned off. By default, EWW shows you the images on the page. So it's very much like W3M. You guys that have ever used W3M, that terminal-based web browser, it's very similar, actually, to W3M. It tries to respect the HTML as far as it tries to keep columns. And again, by default, you would see images here. I turned the images off. If I'm in a terminal-based or text-based web browser, why do I need images, right? I'm not going to be watching video. For sure, video won't even load, but images, I don't need images either. So I turn all that off just for speed and just to get rid of the clutter. You know, if I want to actually look at images or watch video, I'm not going to do anything in a terminal-based browser anyway. I'm going to open up Firefox. So I got rid of all that. I mean, it respects like the background color of the header in DistroWatch. I guess that's some CSS it's trying to do something with. But anyway, distrowatch.com, I don't know. It doesn't look that good to me, to be honest. Let's pick a different page. How about distrotube.com? This is a little bit more respectable. Of course, much more minimal design, not too much in the way of images. There are images on that page, but again, I've got EWW set to not show me images. But I kind of like the browser. I can live with the browser. And to be honest, it's probably the only browser inside Emacs worth using. I mean, it's built into Emacs, EWW. But I could do something like this. Alt-X, Alt-X, and then ANSI term again. Because again, I need a proper terminal. And then it's going to ask what shell I want to run. Bin, bash. It's there by default. But what if I instead chose Lynx to run as my shell? This actually works. It's going to launch Lynx, the Lynx web browser. It doesn't look good though. The spacing is all wrong. The coloring is all wrong. You can't read anything. That's the Lynx web browser inside Emacs. Lynx is my favorite terminal-based, text-based web browser. I have my own configuration, all my bookmarks. Lynx is also one of the very, very few browsers that supports Gopher. So if I want to view like my Gopher site or anybody else's Gopher site, Lynx is really the only option. The fact that Lynx doesn't look good at all in Emacs is kind of a bummer. I hate that's the case, but EWW is there as an alternative, and it looks like it's a good alternative. It's not an alternative for Gopher, but for HTTP, it's an alternative. Back to the chat. All right, guys. Hope I didn't bore too many of you with the Emacs stuff. The Emacs stuff is really interesting. The fact that, you know, I can split the screen horizontally or vertically and load up a terminal, even though I'm probably not going to use the terminal emulators built into Emacs. EWW, the web browser, I will use that. I kind of like that. There were some other options as well. There's some other stuff I could fire up. You can do your own music players in Emacs. Well, heck, I shouldn't have closed it, but let's just open up one of my Emacs configs. My awesome window manager config, put it on the right screen. So if I do Alt X and I do, there is a Emacs multimedia player called EMMS, and it may or may not be installed by default. It's an MPD client, and it's there, but you could use something else if you're more familiar with MPC, which I've used MPC in the past. MPC is an option. I'm getting an error message, though. I guess MPD is not available. Am I not auto-starting MPD? I don't usually use MPD clients, so I may not even have MPD running. So, let's see. I'm going to start MPC again inside Emacs, and now it works. Okay. So this is MPC running inside of Emacs. I mean, I could do a split, you know, well, I say I could. That key combination that normally works does not work. Not inside MPC. But anyway, I can swap between various buffers. I don't have any other buffers open. Oh, I'm really not sure how this works. But this is MPC, which is the music player console. The N-curse is basically media player, MPD player. Anyway. The key binding to close everything in Emacs. Control X, Control C. So you can do your music player inside Emacs. Again, I haven't played with it at all. I don't even know if it's installed by default. There is an email client built into Emacs. There's games, of course. A lot of games actually built into Emacs. So again, Emacs, again, it's mainly, it's like its own operating system or its own desktop environment where you can do everything inside Emacs. Everything is an Emacs buffer, and you just switch between those buffers. It's a really neat concept. Again, it's nothing like Vim. Two totally different concepts, Vim and Emacs. Both are okay text editors. Actually, one is a great text editor. Vim is a fantastic text editor. Emacs may be a great text editor. The more I get familiar with it, I'm sure it's going to be fine. It's not bad, though. Even just beginning with Emacs, I was kind of comfortable in it. There is that old joke, though. Emacs is a great operating system. The only thing it lacks is a good text editor. Though if you wanted to, just like anything else, you could launch Vim inside Emacs. It would be strange, but you could do it. All right, back to the chat. Let's see. What do you generally do with computer other than Linux stuffs or just doing your hobby? What I generally do with my computer is typically what you guys see on my videos. That's what I do with it. I just play with stuff. Play with window managers and text editors, and I don't game. I typically don't do anything that I would say is not productive. You know, I'm always trying to learn something. I don't work with computers in real life, though. I just play a Linux guy on YouTube. I'm gonna back up a little bit in the comments, try to catch up on some of this. Glaucus says Vim all the way. Yeah, I miss Vim, but you know what? I made this commitment to use Emacs. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it for a while. Heck, I may stick with Emacs forever. I don't know, but I imagine I think I could probably get to the point where I could comfortably switch between Emacs and Vim. Why not? I switch between half a dozen different window managers all the time, right? I switch between a really weird keyboard and a normal keyboard every single day, you know. I don't think it would be that hard to get used to both Vim and Emacs and kind of keep my skills up in both. Peter, I had many more likes on my previous stream today. Yeah, I bet I did. That other stream was great. All 5 minutes of it. I'm going to have to delete that one because people are going to watch that and wonder why it was such a short stream. For those of you that weren't here at the very beginning, my window managers crashed on me 3 or 4 different times when I first started the stream. Not related to the window managers themselves, not related to OBS or any kind of equipment failures. I think it was just a situation. I hadn't rebooted my machine in a while. and it probably needed a reboot. There's been some updates, some major updates actually on my Arch-based system, kernel updates especially. I haven't rebooted the machine. And then I was trying to do stuff inside VirtualBox, which if you don't have the right kernel going in VirtualBox, sometimes that can cause you some problems. What window manager am I using? Simply Linux helped you out there. This is Qtile. At the beginning of the stream, I was in Xmonad for those first few minutes. Then I switched to Qtile. But we could switch to anything. Again, I've got 7 different window managers installed on my system, so, and I regularly switch between them. I'm in Awesome Window Manager a lot. BSPWM I stayed in for 2 or 3 months here recently, and I enjoyed it. DWM is also here. i3 and Urbsluft are also installed on the system. Yeah, can you try Terminator inside Emacs? What would it look like? Terminator, you can't. No, Terminator is its own terminal emulator. You can't really launch another terminal emulator inside Emacs. Like I can't launch ST inside Emacs. Emacs has its own terminal emulators. You can launch shells inside those terminal emulators, whether you want to use Bash or ZSH or Fish or, you know, the Corn shell or whatever, C shell. But I don't know if, I don't think it would be possible to launch Terminator inside Emacs. Otherwise, I would just launch ST inside Emacs and Emacs. Although my experiment using tmux inside the Emacs shell does seem like it's a viable alternative. Although I don't use tmux. Like I would never use any of the terminal multiplexer capabilities of tmux. I don't use that. So the only reason I even installed tmux was just to see how it looked. And it looked pretty good. EXWM, somebody mentioned. Yes, that's the Emacs window manager. It's like its own tiling window manager, which, again, Emacs is almost its own window manager anyway. It just takes that one step further. But you're basically, Emacs then becomes your window manager. It's single-threaded. That's a problem. So when Emacs crashes, everything crashes, right? Your window manager basically crashes when Emacs crashes. I'm not sure how I feel about that, where pretty much everything is tied into Emacs. It might be okay, though. I might take a look at it at some point. I don't know. Yeah, Cherry Tree. One of the things you guys have asked me about Emacs is org mode. So, let me just open up any of my configs, but I'm going to open up this file. So Control-X, Control-F. And then I know I have a file on here that was written as an org mode file. And yeah, vimorg.org. So there is a Vim plugin called Vim Organizer. And it's basically like an org mode for Vim. Anyway, this is their Vim Organizer cheat sheet to show you how to use that plugin in Vim. Obviously, we're not using Vim today. But the point of this is an org mode file because it's any file that ends in .org, Emacs recognizes as an org mode file. And basically, you get, you know, this kind of outline look, and you can cycle through different layouts. If I wanted to, I could start, you know, a new project and, you know, create my own org mode document. But basically, how this works is you use asterisks, one asterisk, and this is, you know, a top level of your outline. So type something if I wanted to. The next line I could do 2 asterisks, you know. The next line 3. And then 4. And you can change, by the way, what these asterisks become, the symbols and everything, completely customizable. And the neat thing about Emacs being a GUI program, you know, this is not terminal based, this is a graphical application. Emacs is. You see, you can get different fonts, right? Different size fonts, different spacing of the fonts. Not all the fonts have to be monochrome. If I wanted to, I could do italics. with the backslashes, and it even becomes italics as soon as I hit that last backslash. You can do bold. I forget what the bold. I think just wrapping something in asterisks is bold. Let me try that. That's bold. Yep. And you see, it became bold. Anyway, and then you can collapse things, right? You can expand them. The mouse works. Again, it's a graphical application, but if I wanted to, I could cycle things with the key bindings, like cycle through the various states of this document. So, I haven't played with org mode that much. I can't tell you that much about it other than it's really neat. And if you're the kind of person that does a lot of note taking, org mode is probably going to be fantastic for you. If you do a lot of stuff in Markdown, like for me, if I wanted to do something like, I don't know, show notes for live streams or a podcast or whatever I'm doing, if I was going to do show notes in Markdown, well, in Emacs, probably org mode would be an even better option. The syntax is easier to understand, easier to type, and it looks really nice, right? Org mode, I think I'm going to really enjoy playing with org mode. I haven't looked at it that much. I'm just giving you guys a quick preview. More to come down the road on org mode. Let's see. There's a lot of people on Linux playing WoW, and there's a rumor that Blizzard tests WoW on Wine. And WoW is such an old game. Are there really that many people still playing that thing? That game has been around for decades. Yeah, Sippy Cup says, I've only used Bash. Most people on Linux have probably only used Bash. Bash is the default shell on almost every distro. And even if it's not the default shell, Bash is installed on every distro. So. And it's a good shell, right? I mean, it does everything you need. And then, of course, the scripting aspects of Bash. A lot of people that do shell scripting, a lot of them, you actually write it with Bash in mind. All right, back to the chat. I've never played WoW. Played Dota 2, though. I've actually never played Dota 2. I've never played WoW either. I'm not one of those massive multiplayer online kind of guys, RPG kind of guys. Anything that is going to suck up weeks, if not months of my life. Like, it pains me to think of all those wasted hours that I could have been doing something productive. I've always avoided getting into those. Just a personal choice of mine. I like first-person shooters. Even though I suck at them, if I'm going to play a game, those are great because I can get in there and I can play for 10 minutes and get right back out. You know? Where people get sucked into those massive multiplayer games. It consumes their lives, you know. Every hour of every day, they got to be playing that game. All right. Yeah, so it's constantly updated, and it's from 2004, says Big Pod. So, wow, it's constantly updated. Okay. Yeah, Dare. I hope I pronounced that name right. You can export org mode files into almost everything. Word, PDF, HTML. Yeah, once I finally get around to actually doing more with org mode and showing you guys some stuff on video. Yes, you can export org mode to Markdown probably. If you do both. You can export it into PDFs, of course. LaTeX. You write in LaTeX. I don't know if you can export it to Graph or not. Of course, you can export it to HTML. A lot of web designers really like that aspect of Emacs and org mode because you can write stuff in org mode and then quickly export it into HTML. Yeah, Windows Enthusiast says Bash means bloated and crappy shell. Okay. No. Bash is bloated. Really? Come on now. Bash is bloated. Of all the things out there that you can say are bloated, and you guys know I can throw the bloat word, I can label anything as bloated. But come on, Bash is bloated. You're trolling now, Windows Enthusiast. The PowerShell is bloated. There you go. Uh, yeah, Gabriel. Hey, DT, glad to catch you live. Thanks, Gabriel. I'm probably going to kill the stream here in a few minutes. Been streaming about an hour and a half. Been an interesting stream for those that didn't catch the first few minutes. We had some major technical difficulties. Matter of fact, if you missed the first 15, 20 minutes of the stream, you're good because you didn't miss anything at all. Yeah, Matt M. I didn't get a patron notice about the stream. Yeah, I don't typically post over on Patreon when I'm about to stream. I probably should, but most of you guys are subscribed to the channel, so you should get YouTube notices. And I actually, unlike most of my streams, I plan this hours in advance, at least 9-10 hours in advance. I had the stream up. YouTube, the notification system is broken. That's why I use Mastodon. I sometimes post, well, I almost always post on Mastodon when I publish my pre-recorded stuff. I typically don't post on Mastodon for streaming events because I assume YouTube will take care of that. But YouTube, again, is broken. I do apologize about that. I guess I could post on all these platforms, on Patreon and on Mastodon and everywhere else before I do a stream, just to make sure as many people know about the streaming as possible. Of course, you would hope that YouTube would just notify everybody that's subscribed, but they don't. Or at least they try to, but the YouTube notification system is definitely broken. Yeah, Big Daddy, how you doing? Rocco, NeoFetch is bloated. NeoFetch is bloated. Now that's one label, one bloated label I threw out there that, yeah, very bloated, NeoFetch. I still like it, though. Let's see how long NeoFetch takes to load today. That's pretty long. pfetch. Where do I have pfetch? Need to find the source code for it. Do an ls. Okay. Now let's run pfetch. Yeah, pfetch launches a lot quicker. Yeah. Blazing fast pfetch is compared to NeoFetch. Written by the same guy, by the way. The same guy that created NeoFetch created pfetch. So he really should just call pfetch NeoFetch Lite or NeoFetch Minimal. That'd have been a great name. Did I miss something? Why does YouTube suck? It's Steven Anderson. You missed a little bit. We played around a little bit with Kubuntu 19.10 just for a few minutes early in the stream, and then I showed a little bit of emacs for a bit, and mostly me just conversing with the chat, though. You can catch it on the replay. You didn't miss that much, though. But yeah, YouTube is broken. I wish there was an alternative, but it is what it is. ADT, what is your favorite Migo? I'm not sure what that is. M-I-G-O. I'm gonna have to Google that word. I'm not sure what you're after on that. pfetch doesn't look as good. It's not about looks. Minimal things often don't look as good. But what we want is speed. We have a need for speed, right? Yeah. One other thing I wanted to show you guys. We were talking about all this stuff we can open up inside Emacs. You can open up your web browser in Emacs, and your terminal and your music player and your email client and everything else. But ERC, which is Emacs IRC client. Now it wants to know what IRC server I need to connect to. I want to connect to freenode, of course. The default port 6667. My nickname, DistroTube, is actually my name. I'm a registered user over on freenode. Let me make sure I type. Well, I can't do my password with the screen key on. Let me kill the screen key. Matter of fact, I may have to type my password a few different times to remember what my password is for IRC. Because I never have to log in with IRC. because I have my password in the config file. And I actually seriously have to think about it. I think that's the one. I could be wrong. Either way, it's going to connect me to my channel. It just may not connect me as DistroTube. It says my nickname is registered. That's not a good sign. It might have been the wrong password. But anyway, connecting to DistroTube, the DistroTube channel over on the Freenode network. Anyway, how cool is that? You have a IRC client inside your text editor. Now, why do you need that? Heck if I know. I mean, I don't know if it's useful or not, but now you have your IRC in Emacs. Yeah, try MX Doctor. Is that actually a real thing? You open up a new instance of Emacs. So if I do, what, Alt-X. Oh, it's connecting me to, oh well, Alt-X, and then Doctor. I am a psychotherapist. Please describe your problems. Each time you are finished talking, type return twice. Okay. Please describe your problems. I am using Emacs. And then press return twice. Emacs? Ha! I would appreciate it if you would continue. Okay. So it has its built-in psychiatrist. Emacs has it all, guys. You don't get that in Vim, right? All right. Nibo, can you show us your init? A init for which? I'm assuming you're talking about Emacs. It's all on my GitLab page if you want my config files. But here is my Emacs init.el. There's not much to it. I haven't configured it that much. Basically, I've turned on a few standard settings, getting rid of the scroll bar, get rid of the toolbar, get rid of the menu bar. That's standard. Everybody probably does that. Using the Dracula theme for my color scheme. I downloaded that from the internet. You can install it with Melpa. I think it's in Melpa too, the Dracula color theme. Other than that, there's really not much to my config. I mean, if you want to take a look at my config, by all means, go check it out. But it's not just going to wow you. It's not going to blow you away. Although I probably should get rid of these mistypings here. Z and X at the top. That should not be there. Let me save. All right. All right, so let me catch up on the chat, and then I got to get out of here, guys. Yeah, appreciate that AG Ag about the Meta X Doctor. I did not know that was there. That's amazing. Yeah, Rocco says he's good, and he's just relaxing. Way ahead of you. All right. ADT, why are you using freenode? They log everything, and they also ban channels for no reason, and don't respect freedom of speech. I'm on freenode because that's where every other free and open source related thing is. Why would they ban me? What am I going to do to get banned? We talk about Linux, right? We're not doing anything weird. They don't respect freedom of speech. They don't have to. I'm using their servers. They can do whatever they want. If they were using my servers, guess what? They wouldn't, quote, have freedom of speech either. They would have to abide by my rules. It's not like we're out in public, right? I'm on their computer. Right? I'm on their server. Their house, their rules. They're free to do that. Now, of course, you're free to go find another IRC network to join as well, which obviously you have. I'm cool with them. So, until I run into some issue with them, I've got no problem with freenode. It's not about looks, DT. DT has definitely not played Rise of the Tomb Raider. Know nothing about it. Don't even know what kind of game that is. Never seen the Tomb Raider games. I know there's movies about them too. Haven't seen any of that. Rocco is asking me, what do I use to show the keyboard on the screen? So that is called screen key. Screen key. So if I actually just launch it here in D menu, let me switch to this screen. Screen key, all one word. It's an old program. It's been around forever. It's in every Linux distro's repos, but once you launch it, then anything I type, you see, you get it on the screen. And you can reposition it where it's on the screen. I purposely have it, taking up about a quarter of the bottom screen. Black background, slightly transparent black background with white text. You can change the color, you can change the font, and all of that. So then I'm going to do a kill all screen key to kill it. If you had a sys tray somewhere on your window manager or your desktop environment, screen key would be sitting in the sys tray. I don't typically use sys trays unless they're installed by default. I don't bother with them. I know some people think that's weird. I've had you guys ask me, "Hey, how do you live without a sys tray?" It's never bothered me. Most people that use tiling, well, I won't say most people that use, but there is a pretty decent size population out there that use tiling window managers without even a panel, much less a sys tray. Think about it. If you only had one monitor, do you really need a panel? Probably not. You know what workspace you're on, right? When I hit, Super 2 to go to the second workspace, I had to hit the key combination to go to the second workspace. I'm going to remember I'm on the second workspace. Do I really need the panel to tell me? Now, on my 3-monitor system, yeah, I kind of like having panels on it to tell me what monitor's on what workspace. But if you're on a single monitor system, yeah, you don't even really need a panel, much less having things like sys tray. All right. Sorry I couldn't keep up with a lot of the chat here today. There's a lot of you guys hanging out today. And almost 2 hours in, about 167 of you guys still watching. Yeah, so yeah, your mama says, but I have 2 monitors. Yeah, if you have more than one monitor, it's a good idea to have a panel, just to keep up with where everything's at. And Rocco says, thank you. No problem, Rocco. Yeah, screen key is great. Yeah. You do any kind of like tutorial stuff in your YouTube videos where you need to show the key combinations, like tiling window managers or doing stuff in the shell or anything that involves a lot of weird key bindings, emacs, like I was doing today. Vim is another good example. Yeah, it's good to turn on screen key. That way, people that have never seen those programs know what you're doing. Yeah, Hoystein says, I'd use Qtile, but I never could get anything but the default config working. Well, all you have to do is go grab somebody else's config, and then you would have another config working that's not your own. It's that simple. You could go pull my config off of my GitLab, and it should work for you. Other than I think my config has 3 panels on it because I have 3 monitors. You might have to, cut some of those lines out that involve some of the other panels. But other than that, it should work for you. The great thing about, these people that put their configs on things like GitHub and GitLab, you just go get somebody else's configs. Assuming you have all the right stuff installed that they're using, everything should work for you. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me today. I know we had a rough start, but I hope the stream, eventually turned out all right for you guys. Had a little bit of fun today, taking just a very quick look at Kubuntu and then playing a little bit with Emacs. Again, there's so much to Emacs. I haven't even scratched the surface of what there is to learn about Emacs. So a lot more Emacs content to come, in the following weeks and months. But kind of impressed with it so far. So again, thank all you guys for hanging out. And of course, before I go, I want to thank all these guys. This show was made possible by Ansem, First Chris, Second Chris, Daniel, David, DJ, Donnie, Dylan, George, Corbinian, Mitchell, Natek, Philip, Rob, Robert, Sean, Stephanie, and Willie. These guys are the producers of the show, my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. Sincere thank you to those guys. Also brought to you by all those other names you see on the screen that help support my work over on Patreon. If you guys want to support the channel, DistroTube over on Patreon. All right, guys. Peace. All right.